PK in the universe, and I am back again with another video. It has been a while. Been really busy lately, haven't been feeling the greatest, but I wanted to make a video. I've missed making videos. But anyways, let's get right into the topic. Okay, so should we get a bigger Evercade? Should there be a future bigger Evercade down the road? I was a bit inspired to make this video because I saw Ed from Evercade Effects video. Ed had mentioned in a previous episode of the Evercast video that they had talked to Sean from over at Blaze, and they had been talking about, you know, the Steamdeck and stuff. And you know, Ed and Pete from Evercanadian, they both have Steamdecks. They talk about the Steamdecks to some extent on their channel. Pete more so than Ed. Ed has a separate channel, actually, that he talks about other retro gaming stuff that he actually talks about the Steam Deck on. So, you know, different philosophies and styles. Some people talk about Evercade and Steam Deck on their channel. Some people talk about both, you know, our separate channels, you know, different philosophies and whatnot. But the topic of a future bigger Evercade came up or whatever, and I have some opinions about that. You know, Ed talked about how he would like to see a future bigger Evercade in 2025. Me personally, I hate to say it, but I disagree. I think the guys over at Blaze should honestly focus on the current Evercade EXP system and really, you know, cater to that audience for years and years to come. And here's why. I just think it's way too soon. I think it made sense to upgrade from Evercade to Evercade EXP within a couple of years. And the reason I think that, of course, is because the original Evercade, of course, was kind of dated on arrival, to be honest. It was kind of dated on arrival. One of the biggest complaints about the original Evercade is the screen. I mean, personally, I don't mind the screen. I mean, I really think it looks, you know, okay. It looks okay. It doesn't look perfect, you know, but it could be better, but it looks okay. But the thing was, this console was, you know, the original Evercade was not the most high-tech piece of equipment. You know, it was kind of even a little bit dated for its time. So it made sense to go from Evercade to Evercade EXP, and then they added the Tate mode, of course, or whatever, you know, and people love to, you know, rotate their system and, you know, play those, top scrolling games or whatever, you know, and the scrolling games. And, you know, because a lot of arcades were vertical. So it makes sense, you know, and there's an arcade collection or whatever, you know, in Evercade now. And of course there's the purple Evercade, which celebrates the whole purple, you know, the arcades and whatnot, because the arcade collections have the purple cases or whatever. And it made sense. I would love to see maybe a future Evercade EXP that's blue, of course, to celebrate the Evercade home computer line of games or whatever, you know, like the C64 collection and stuff. There's a C64 collection 2 coming out, which I'm pretty excited about. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to have more variations. I feel like going from, you know, the classic Evercade to the Evercade EXP was like going from the Game Boy Advance to the Game Boy Advance SP. I feel like going to a whole new bigger Evercade is not really the answer because, again, I feel like Blaze really needs to focus on serving the current audience more so than serving the possible next audience. But also, you kind of want to bring new people in. So I see why people are like, yeah, let's have an even bigger, better Evercade. But the problem is you have too many variants, too many new consoles too close together. I think that could be a problem. I feel like that's what happened with Sega. Sega, you know, had, of course, you know, they went from the Master System, which, well, didn't do very good, really, here, at least in the United States. The United States Master System did not do well. And then they went to the Genesis, which did really well. But then they were like, oh, let's do this 32X add-on. And then the Sega CD, which is a 16-bit add-on, but I don't know. I can't remember which one came first exactly. And then, of course, you have the Nomad. And then you have the Saturn that came out, you know, right around the same time as the 32X, like 6 months before. All of a sudden you have too many dang different systems, and it absolutely hurt Sega. By the time the Dreamcast came out, which was actually a really good system, awesome system, it's too late, you know, because Sega's already messed up their reputation because they put out too many systems too fast, and I could see Blaze doing that. And also, Ed brought up something that I thought was kind of interesting that I think is interesting, but I don't necessarily agree with, was he talked about how maybe this future Evercade system could have, you know, could be like a dock system or whatever, and you would, you know, plug, you know, controllers into it or whatever type deal, like, for $200 to $250. Well, the problem with that is that already exists. It's called the Nintendo Switch. This would be a Nintendo Switch with fewer games. I feel like you get past that $200 mark, you're in Nintendo Switch Lite territory, which is not a good place to be because Blaze is not big enough to the point that they could compete with Nintendo Switch. Blaze would need to establish a huge, vast library of games that people couldn't get anywhere else. Because why would I want... In a lot of these games we can get on Evercade, we can get on Switch. That's just a fact of life and a reality, is we can already get a lot of these on Switch. What I think makes Evercade such a unique entry point is because of such a low cost entry point that it already has with that 100 and, regular Evercades have actually gone up in price lately. They used to be $99 all day on Amazon, and now all of a sudden they're like $125. And if you're going to spend that kind of money, why not spend, a little extra money and get an Evercade EXP? There's no point. Or, and the regular Evercade VS is still pretty popular, and I think are they still selling for $99 now with the standard? I don't know. They might have gone up a little bit too. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've looked. But, that's the great thing about Evercade is it's such a low cost entry point. And the games are typically $20 when they're not being scalped, of course, by these dirty scalpers, who want to sell them for over the market value. When you're just better off to go buy a whole bunch of fun stock, honestly. That's a better deal. But when you start getting into Switch territory, you're in trouble. Now, Steamdeck is a different animal. I don't believe Steamdeck is designed to compete with Nintendo Switch. It's $400. So, it's $50 more than the Switch OLED. Yes. But the reason Valve can sell it for such a low entry point price, and I think there's, more expensive ones, obviously, and we're not including tax and stuff like that. I think there's one that have higher memory capacity out of the gate, but you can obviously add your own SD cards and whatnot, or micro SD card is it, I think. Yeah. So the thing about Steamdeck is they can sell it for such a cheap price because Valve has so much money. They're making up all the money that it costs more money to make a Steam Deck, but they're making up that money, in Steam sales, basically, in the sales of Steam games. So they make up the money in the end. I don't know that Blaze can afford to do anything like that, to make up the price of the consoles. I'm just speculating, of course. They're obviously not a very big company. So typically I would think, hey, they probably can't subsidize this with just the games, especially since the games are so cheap as it is. I think they probably make some profit off these games. So no, I think it's a bad idea to try to go head-to-head with Switch. I don't think that's a good idea. I honestly think Blaze should serve their current audience. I think a totally new handheld is probably 4 or 5 years down the road, not 2 years down the road. I think that's way overambitious, and I think it would end up hurting Blaze more than it would help it. I think what Blaze should do is keep doing what they're doing so far. I think is working, honestly. I think the nice thing about Blaze is they've signed 11 new cartridges for this year, not including Indie Heroes 2, which I have, by the way, I've been playing and loving. It's freaking awesome. I got the Flea plushie too in the pin set. My son thinks the Flea plushie looks kind of like Justin from this character from this show he watches on YouTube called Mr. DeMeo. He looks like Justin without glasses, I guess, which I thought was really funny. I was like, wow, I never made that connection before. But I would like to see Blaze, focus maybe not this year, obviously. This year they already have 11 different cartridges signed, but next year or in 2025, maybe focus all on indie games. Just straight up all on indie games. Yes, I love the Game of the Month aspect of it, but I'd like them to switch things up and actually just focus all on all indie and homebrew games. I think it'd be cool to have an all Atari homebrew collection, an all Intellivision homebrew collection, an all C64 homebrew collection. Maybe just focus also on specific genres. I think that would bring in a lot of people who maybe aren't the type who would just buy every single Evercade cartridge, because I feel like we've already established the folks who will buy every single Evercade cartridge. That audience has already been established. You're going to have somebody in this audience, probably somebody even watching this video. If Blaze decided to put out an all Barbie horse riding cart, there's people who would buy it and be like, well, Evercade's all about discoverability and affordability. Yes, I say this all the time. Would I buy it? Well, no, but I definitely know people in the audience who would definitely buy it. Come on, let's be honest. You can't not have the entire collection. So I feel like that audience has already been established, and that audience is still very much committed to continuing to buy Evercade stuff. So why not actually focus on specific genres? Maybe an all beat 'em ups collection, maybe an all RPG collection. I was looking at some old RPGs from the PSP library a while back, and there's two games that really stood out to me was End of Serenity and I think it's Mystic Chronicles. And those games were both on PSP. They were also on old Japanese mobile phones back in the day. And I would love to see those two games on a single cartridge because they've never been physically released. They were published by Kemco, and I think they were developed by Natsume, I want to say. And yeah, I would love to see a dual cart of those. And those games are not incredibly demanding, so I feel like Blaze could absolutely accomplish this. I feel like those games aren't very demanding. It's possible Blaze could put those on one cartridge. I could see that happening. I don't think they're too demanding. So, yeah, I would love to see Blaze focus actually on specific genres and indie games. I think that would be a better course of action than developing a new handheld. I feel like developing a new handheld is not the answer, and they should focus on actually serving their current audience. We're always looking for something big and better. And here's the thing about Steamdeck. Would I love to get a Steam Deck? Absolutely. Am I jealous of everyone who has a Steam Deck? Absolutely. No doubt about it. I think those things are really cool looking, and it's amazing what people can play on them. I think people are actually more interested in more powerful handhelds than they are necessarily bigger handhelds. The Steam Deck is a behemoth. There's nothing like it out there, except there's like one other, I think, console. I think it's a handheld console that's just as powerful or even more powerful than the Steam Deck. And it's like $1,000 because it's not owned by a company like Steam who can subsidize that cost, by, software, obviously. And so I feel like, yeah, I don't think Blaze should make a super powerful handheld. I don't think they should get into Nintendo Switch territory. I think they're in a good place in the niche. I think the Steam Deck has sold over 1 million units already. So Blaze is kind of a little more niche than Steam Deck is, obviously. I think it's great that Steam Deck exists, and I'm glad there's a lot of people who are talking about it because I think it's a great concept of, playing all your old Steam games anywhere you go. It's super convenient. I have a computer, and sometimes, man, I'd like to play those games that I bought on the computer on the go. I see the value in that. I will get one maybe at some point. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the future holds, but I think, yeah, overall, I think Blaze should focus on the catalog of games. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you want to buy another handheld? Or maybe you'd just be like, hey, I wouldn't mind buying a new variant, but not necessarily a brand new handheld that's really expensive. Or do you guys agree with me and think, hey, they should focus on the catalog of games? Comment below. Love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and stay awesome in this universe. Thanks. Bye.